Up next, we have Dimi, who is protocol specialist at Stakefish, who will talk about better governance with SubDAOs. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. So, hi everybody, I'm Dimi, protocol specialist at Stakefish and also one of the founding community members at Juno network. So today I will speak about the governance and in proof of stake system, and especially the ones on Cosmos SDK that use the governance module. Governance as today, in the recent months we had some issues around governance, I say. On-chain governance we have different proposal types. As you know, you can do community spend proposals to allocate funds. You can do parameter change proposal to modify specific parameters of Cosmos SDK modules. But you also have text proposals that are kind of unlimited powers proposals where anybody can propose anything without any limitation. And I'm not sure if it's ideal. For sure, this kind of governance system is better than nothing, but I think that we can do way better than this. So as we see today, the governance is just one big monolithic DAO where everybody will vote on everything without any distinction. And this causes many issues. For example, in case of emergencies, there is no way to pass through governance proposals because they are not quick enough. One example is in case of a very serious bug is found in the code of the chain. The only way to do that without compromising the chain itself is basically bypassing governance and contacting validators one by one and asking them to basically update the code. And this is not ideal because you are relying on you need to trust on the developers that give you that code, and that's not the best. Also, in case of bugs, we don't really know who will be responsible of what happens. For example, on Juno, we had one mistake by one developer that put one wrong address in a code update, and the funds were moved to a wrong place. Who should be responsible of that? The developer? That's human error. It can happen. Validators? I don't know. Should they check the code? Should they don't? So it's not very clear who should take responsibility of these mistakes. Some example of the unlimited power proposal that I was speaking about. This is Cerberus chain. I think it's a meme chain, and this is a proposal basically to suicide the chain. And I mean, yeah, with text proposal you can do literally everything, and thankfully this didn't pass. It got vetoed immediately by almost everybody. But yeah, this is one example, and the other most famous example is on Juno, the proposal 16 to basically burn the funds of the whale, and this passed. And this proposal specifically was very badly written, and there is a lot to talk about this. I think this proposal generated a lot of hate from the community members to the whale, and basically everybody just voted with their belly and their emotions without really thinking about the future of the chain. And this still reminds us, should be everybody really entitled on vote on anything, or should we split powers of governance in dedicated teams? So yeah, this is the question. How can we solve all these issues that we had? So I would like to introduce you to this concept of SubDAOs. We defined the definition of SubDAOs in another governance proposal that it's already on chain and passed. I don't remember the number. I think on Juno is the 9, if I'm not wrong. Basically, a SubDAO is just a group of people. It can be from 5 to hundreds. Depends on what they need to do, of course, and what kind of efficiency you want. And they have very specific responsibilities. And they have a totally disconnect governance from the main governance. So they have their own voting systems, their internal processes to take decisions. But at the same time, they are still under the control of the main governance layer of the blockchain. So if anything happens, the main governance can still somehow overwrite or disband or change the people that is part of this SubDAO. Another thing that SubDAOs can do, they can have they can trigger specific actions on the topic that are relevant to them directly on chain. And of course, to do this, you need to modify a little bit the protocol of the chain itself to give them this kind of powers, but it's something that we can totally do. And another interesting thing is that these SubDAOs, they can get paid directly from the on-chain community taxes. I mean, if you know all the transactions on Cosmos are part of the gas fees, it's already used by the protocol in the community pool. We can maybe split or change the percentage to allocate to different SubDAOs. And at the same time, if one of these SubDAOs don't do their job or they act in some malicious way, they can get fined by the community itself, still using the normal on-chain governance system. So some SubDAOs example that I would like to see in the future, and actually I'm working actively specifically in the security DAO. Security DAO, or we can call it infrastructure DAO, still have to decide. Basically, before I said, who will take responsibility of the code shipped on chain? Because of course, I mean, everybody has a little bit of responsibility, both validator and core teams, but we can have an entity that is specifically addressable for these kind of things. On Juno, we will soon have multiple core development teams, and so we really need someone that takes responsibility if anything bad happens. So the security DAO will have the responsibility to audit and double check all the code that gets deployed on chain. If they don't fulfill their job, they can be fined by the community. And another interesting power that I think the security DAO should have is the possibility to trigger security upgrades without passing through the on-chain governance. So let's say a very bad bug is found on Cosm Wasm. They can trigger an upgrade maybe the next day or in 2 days or in a few hours. All these things we need to decide using some kind of parameters, of course, but in this way it's way easier to coordinate validators to implement the new security patch, and there is no need for a voting in this case. We already have this group of people that it's competent enough to say we need to upgrade for this specific to fix this specific security issue. And at the same time, the main chain governance can vote to cancel an upgrade. So in the case this security DAO act maliciously, and they say, okay, let's trigger a security upgrade that in reality is not fixing any security issue, but only getting us a lot of tokens. If this happens, the main governance can create another proposal with a new proposal type that will have maybe a very short voting period, but some kind of high quorum, and will cancel the security upgrade, and at the same time disband the security DAO, removing all the powers to them. So this is something that I think could help a lot in validator operations and also the security of the chain itself. Other SubDAO examples are the investment DAO. If you, especially for Juno, if you look at the current situation, during the bull market, the community pool had a lot of funds available to fund the developers and projects. And now, during the bear market, it's not that much money to sustain a chain. And I think this can be prevented by having a specific DAO that can maybe manage part of the funds from the community pool, converting stablecoin in strategic time periods, these kind of things. This is, of course, open to exploration. It's just some kind of idea, but I would like to see some work on this front. And another thing that instead we are already working on is the delegation DAO. Right now, Juno has we have the community pool that it's available to everybody through on-chain governance, and there is the core development fund that it's managed by a multi-sig of 5 members only. And this is not ideal. So at least for the delegations, we can have a SubDAO that it's authorized from the core team multisig, the development reserve multisig, to manage the delegations in their behalf. And this can be done using the OutZ module of Cosmos SDK, so it's very easy to do. And the DAO can decide some specific delegation programs, and they can do everything from a very easy UI that it's DAO. If you don't know DAO, it's one project that it's built on Juno network that allows you to create DAOs and manage them using a UI. And all these SubDAOs can easily be smart contracts on DAO just to simplify all the operations. So another thing that I would like to see in the future is a way to limit the text proposal powers. So as we said, right now you can just write whatever you want on the text proposal, and if it will be voted, in theory, developers should develop what is proposed in this text proposal, and then you will proceed with upgrades. I think we should kind of limit the powers of text proposals, and to do so, the best thing we can do is having some kind of guidelines or constitutions or some kind of principle that the community will agree in advance. So basically, we will have a text proposal saying, hey, these are our principle, and we will not go out from it. And this kind of principle or constitution should try to predict every single case. Like we already had one proposal to burn the funds from one wallet, so we can say, we can write in the constitution, we can say maybe, no, burning funds from a wallet, it's totally forbidden. There is no way we can do that. Or you can write, okay, there is this specific process to achieve that. And all these things can be decided in advance and agreed by the community. So in the future, we will not have any more proposals that are totally out of control from nowhere. And if you have this kind of constitution, you also need some teams that are ready to defend it. Because, of course, it's easy to say, okay, let's follow these guidelines, but then if there is nobody willing to defend this principle, nobody will care, right? And this can be another SubDAO. So we can have, or multiple SubDAOs. The open question is who should write this constitution, and I think that multiple parties should do that, and they can either collaborate or propose different constitutions, and the community will decide the most popular one or the one most in line with the general thinking of the community itself. So this was all I got. Thank you so much.
So you mentioned some of what you're implementing in Juno, right? Or in some of the new approaches to governance. Are there other projects that are taking on some of these?
So yeah, I was using Juno as an example,
yeah.
But for example, for the security upgrade, I mean, I think it's important for Wasm permissionless chains, because of course a smart contract chain is more subject to constant security upgrades, but also all the other chains have security upgrades every once in a while. And so for example, making that process easier and simplify validator operation is very important. So even if you don't have DAO or you don't have smart contracts, all of these is still can still be applied basically to any chain. You just need to develop some kind of module and having some kind of subgroup that can handle this stuff. So I use Juno as an example because it's where we are building this in the first place, but it can be used by any chain.
Very cool, thanks. Any other questions? Cool, thanks a lot, Dimi.
Thank you.